I tied up the wealthy daughter and threw her onto the bed, and I kept playing with the black silk on her feet, watching her embarrassed expression, asking her dad for money while talking on the phone. Who would have thought that it would roar and say, "Get out of here." What? Let me kiss. I awkwardly glanced at the slender-waisted, long-legged young lady. Because I'm so broke, I kidnapped the heiress of the real estate group, and I'm planning to extort a big sum of money from her father. At first, I couldn't believe it, so I stared at her with wide eyes while holding the newspaper. Are you really Lin Xiao? It says here that you're only 15 years old, but you're so well developed. How can you be underage with these 5'7" long legs and this big burger hidden under the white dress? She said in disbelief with her hands tied behind the chair. Bro, what year's newspaper is this? Let me quickly check the publication date of the newspaper. I can't believe it. It's from 2018. No wonder. It has a smell now. I quickly counted on my fingers. So you are 20 years old this year. She glanced at me and said in a vague tone that I was 19 and not yet 20 years old. Oh, so you're still a child? I nodded knowingly. Then I suddenly remembered why I came here in the first place. I picked up the fruit knife and menacingly gestured towards her. You know I'm a kidnapper, so give me your dad's phone number quickly, or else you're done. Lin Xiao's lips tightened, and after hesitating for a moment, she asked, "Are you asking for a ransom?" I patted her thigh firmly. It's adults' business. Kids should stay out of it. She reluctantly retorted in a low voice. I am not a child. I am an adult. I don't care if you're underage. I'm in a hurry to get things done. After I impatiently urged her, she finally mumbled a series of numbers. I picked up the phone and heard only a mechanical beeping sound. How come this old man is still hanging up on me? Lin Xiao saw me holding my phone with a constipated expression. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. My dad doesn't answer calls from strangers. I immediately stared at her and said, "Why didn't you say so earlier? Give me your phone now." Lin Xiao looked at me with a puzzled expression, then looked down at herself. How should I help you? I looked and saw that both of her hands were tied by me, and she really had no room to move. So I simply do it myself. Reach into her pants pockets to fumble half a day and did not pull out. I was puzzled to look at Lin Xiao. How your phone is still soft. Lin Xiao's face had turned red from her ears to her neck, and she said in a low and hoarse voice, "You've picked up the wrong one." Bro, making a phone call is not easy at all. Finally managed to dig out Lin Xiao's phone and checked her contacts. I dialed her dad's number directly. After picking up the phone, the person on the other end sounded pleasantly surprised and said, "Daughter, what made you think of calling dad? I feel a little embarrassed. I am not your daughter." The voice from across suddenly changed. "Oh no, are you Xiao's boyfriend?" I feel even more embarrassed now. The girl next to me, Lin Xiao, started teasing me again. I'm frustrated and angry. How can I, a kidnapper, have such a weak presence? So I cleared my throat and said fiercely, "Listen up, old man. I'm not your daughter's boyfriend. I'm a kidnapper." He seems a bit busy and not interested in talking to me. What a boring game. Just get lost. I'll do it just like they do in TV shows. Don't believe me? Then let me send you a piece of your daughter's fingernail as a warning. And then I gave Lin Xiao a threatening look. She seemed reluctant, but still cooperated by making some hesitant sounds, indicating that she was very scared. I said right away, "Did you hear me? Send the ransom quickly, or else I'll tear up the ticket." The person stayed silent for a moment and then let out a loud shout. Fuck, I didn't expect him to say that, and I was stunned for a moment. I unconsciously turned around and looked at Lin Xiao. She has delicate features, a slim waist, and long legs. It may sound strange, but for me, this combination is quite a steal. I pursed my lips and nodded without hesitation. Okay. Lin Xiao incredulously lifted her head to look at me. I hung up the phone and walked quickly towards her. She watched me start to pull her clothes, her voice slightly trembling, and asked, "What are you doing?" I sighed heavily and sat helplessly. You heard it too. This is what your dad wants. Lin Xiao's expression looks vacant, as if she's lost in thought. I don't care about her. I just want the money. Don't worry. I won't harm you after completing the task. Lin Xiao's lips tightened. Are you sure? I nod my head vigorously, like crushing garlic. Of course I'm sure. She shrugged, a smile in her eyes, and simply bared her shoulders, as if inviting whoever to pick from the tree. All right. I nodded in satisfaction and was about to continue examining her, when suddenly the phone beside me rang. Lin Xiao's father yelled anxiously, "Bro, kidnapping is one thing, but you actually intend to do something unspeakable to my beautiful daughter. I feel really upset. Wasn't it you who asked me to do it?" Her dad sounds like he wants to reach through the phone and beat me up. Dirty people hear only dirty words. Forget it. How much are you asking for? Feeling like I had just been scolded, I glanced at Lin Xiao and cautiously said, $600,000. That amount seems to be quite auspicious. Father and daughter exclaimed in unison. $600,000. Their tone was filled with incredulity. This makes me feel a bit guilty, but okay, I'll go with the $500,000. The person on the other end of the line was silent for another 2 seconds, so I meekly added, "We can't go any lower on the price." Lin Xiao looked heartbroken. "So in your eyes, I'm only worth this much," she said sorrowfully. The man on the other end of the phone sounded a bit angry. "Are you underestimating the power of Lin Changgong?" "Oh, right. The newspaper said his name is Lin Changgong, the head of a real estate group, a billionaire with assets worth over $1 billion. I thought about it and wanted to ask sincerely, 'Brother Lin Changgong, how much do you think is a fair amount of money?'" He spoke passionately at first, but then seemed to remember something and suddenly became quiet. "Well, let's make it $500. 000. I rolled my eyes silently. This old man is so old, yet he's still being pretentious and stingy with money. After I sent him the edited card number via text message, I quickly received a reply. "Which bank is it? I can't figure it out, but I'll still answer honestly. Just not very well. Which bank did you go to?" "Oh, the Shijuotswan Rural Credit Cooperative. Everything is set." I am sitting quietly on a small stool, waiting for the notification of payment. Suddenly, Lin Xiao spoke up. "Aren't you afraid of your personal information being exposed through your bank card?" I suddenly had a moment of realization, like a slap in the face. "Oh, the bank card is linked to my own passport. Isn't this like real name kidnapping?" Lin Chang will definitely follow the bank's identity information and report to the police, and I will be caught directly. I'm so nervous. What should I do? She gave me a helpless look, but with my dad's intelligence. So, the phone rang again. It was a call from Lin Changgong. I made eye contact with Lin Xiao and felt too nervous to answer the phone. Based on Lin Changgong's ability, he probably has already identified me. So what's the difference between this call and a midnight bell situation? But Lin Xiao gestured with her eyes for me to pick it up, her clear eyes making me inexplicably reassured. I accidentally pressed the answer button without thinking. From the other end, I heard Lin Changgong swearing. "What kind of crappy bank card is this? It keeps saying there is a transfer limit. I've tried several times, but I can't get the money through." I smacked my forehead and explained, "Oh, this is the second-type scholarship card my school used to give out, with a limit of $10. 000. When Lin Chen heard that, he also felt a bit confused. "What should we do? Do you have any other cards?" I shook my head. "No more. I have no money left to save." Both Lin and I are very anxious. Lin Xiao couldn't help but sigh. She looked quite speechless. After a while, she saw me wandering around the room and slowly said, "Actually, I have a solution." My eyes lit up. "What's the solution?" "Ask my dad to transfer $10, 000 to you every day until it's enough." I was really surprised. No wonder she's a trust fund baby. She's way smarter than me. I immediately told Lin Changgong about this method. He hesitated and asked, "What about my daughter? Does she have to stay with you all the time?" "I don't really mind about it, but it is indeed a problem." Lin Xiao took the initiative to help me out. She took the phone and had a long talk with her dad. I don't know what she said, but when I heard Lin Changgong's voice again, the old man laughed gleefully, like he had found money. The days waiting for the ransom to arrive are agonizing for me, as I have to prevent Lin Xiao from escaping, while also worrying about the police suddenly coming to arrest me. This is my first time kidnapping someone. To be honest, I'm a little scared. Lin Xiao might have noticed my nervousness. She tilted her head and asked, "What are you thinking about?" I lower my gaze and ask, "How many years do you think someone would get if caught for this kidnapping?" She paused for a moment, lowered her tone, and reassured him, "You won't get caught." I know she was trying to calm me down, afraid I might lose my temper and harm her. So I didn't say anything. She tentatively asked again, "But why would you even think of kidnapping me?" "I'll be honest. I don't have money." She shook her head slowly and asked, "Why don't you get a real job?" I rolled my eyes. "So why didn't you go to Harvard? Is it because you didn't want to go?" She looked a bit surprised and then said seriously, "I actually went to Harvard University." I was speechless, so I just turned my head and didn't talk to her. Seeing that I was ignoring her, she began to fidget restlessly again. "I need to use the bathroom." "Hold it. I'll get hurt holding it in." "What does that have to do with me? You won't get the money." I stood up from the chair in fear, but then I got worried. What if you run away while I am going to the bathroom? She raised an eyebrow and said, "You can look at me. I don't mind. Do you want to watch her go to the bathroom?" I said, "You're a pervert." "I don't want to." After hesitating for a moment, I decided to untie her and threatened, "If you dare to escape, I will slaughter you." She's quite obedient and didn't run away, but she came back from the bathroom and shortly after started yelling that she wants to take a shower. "No way. I'll get moldy." "What does that have to do with me?" "You won't get paid." I'm gritting my teeth. I can't believe I'm such a pathetic kidnapper. It's driving me crazy. Lin Xiao seems to be holding back a laugh. "If you're afraid I'll leave. You can watch too." I paused for a moment, watching her take a shower. "Oh, this seems nice." A smile unconsciously formed on my lips. Lin Xiao noticed the change in my expression and widened her eyes slightly in disbelief. Yeah. After spending a few days with Lin Xiao, I am starting to relax a bit because I feel like she really has no intention of escaping. One time, I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and heard her sleeping on a small couch. Laughing, she looked quite comfortable. Although the days are peaceful, there is not much food left in the fridge. I look at the last piece of bread in contemplation. Lin Xiao noticed I was not moving and asked, "What's wrong with you?" I turned around and earnestly explained to her that I was facing a serious difficulty. She seems a bit confused. "What's up?" I continued. "There's no more food. If I go out now to buy something, I'll be faced with two dangers. The first possibility is that she might run away, and the second is that I might get caught by the police." As we weigh our options, I am in the midst of analyzing the situation carefully. While feeling a surge of emotions, Lin Xiao raised her little hand timidly and said, "Actually, you can order takeout right now. It's so quiet that the silence is deafening. I just scratched my toes for a bit. Anyway, can you order takeout for me?" Lin Xiao was busy fiddling with her phone. Half an hour later, the small table was filled with all kinds of delicious food. I haven't had such a sumptuous meal in a long time. The cupcakes that I used to love, surprisingly, didn't taste delicious in the first bite. Instead, I found them a bit too sweet. I dare not eat too much. I just had a little and stopped. Lin Xiao frowned and said, "You're full already." I nodded and said, "Okay, that's enough. Can't eat too full, or else you'll develop an aversion to cheaper food in the future." Lin Xiao's hand frowned in midair as she reached for something. She slowly turned her head to look at me, and I could see a mix of emotions in her eyes that I couldn't quite understand. She pursed her lips and stared at me quietly for a long time before pretending to be casual and saying, "You've already kidnapped me. Now that you're rich, don't just make do like this." I shook my head at her without saying anything, but deep down I knew that there are more important things than money, and I can't just squander it. Last night, my buddy Yu Chen called me. I thought she said, "You were out making money. Why are you playing hide and seek now?" "I'm working on getting money. In about 40 days, I'll have the money in hand." I lowered my voice and told him in detail about kidnapping Lin Xiao. He exclaimed in a panicked tone, "This is illegal, buddy. Even though we're broke, we must abide by the law. If you end up in jail, it would be really embarrassing for me to visit you there." After blabbering for a while, he added, "Oh, and remember to delete our call records. I didn't know you were kidnapping someone. The cops won't come after me." Right. I feel a bit helpless, and I'm actually quite scared. But Lin Xiao is really nice. She even told me that her dad won't call the police. Yu Chen suddenly became interested, like a light bulb turning on. "You said that rich girl you tied up. This information is super helpful. Let me tell you, make your move quickly. Hurry up and win her over. If you do it in time, you might not get caught by the police." I'm shocked. I'm going to flirt with Lin Xiao. This doesn't seem right. Yu Chen is very excited. Is there anything wrong with this? This is your only way. I'm a bit lost, but I really trust Yu Chen. Alright, so how should I hit on her? What temperature is the water? Roughly in degrees Celsius. I was in a hurry seeking advice when suddenly the door of the bathroom behind me opened, and Lin Xiao came out with long strides. She was wearing only a bathrobe, her hair still wet with droplets sliding down her strands, following the contour of her distinct collarbones, and finally dripping into the bathrobe. As she was drying her hair, she asked uncertainly, "Sorry, did I just hear you say you wanted on me?" I turned my head in terror, almost dropping my phone. Damn it, the only plan I had got exposed before I could even start. In a panic, I hung up the call and waved my hands frantically. No, I never intended to." Lin Xiao looked at me with a smirk, sitting down beside me in a half embrace. The pleasant scent of her shower gel immediately enveloped me. I felt a hot breath on my neck. She whispered seductively in my ear, "You can have it." My head was spinning, but I quickly regained my senses and pushed Lin Xiao away forcefully. "This scent of shower gel, it's not from my house. Where did she get that shower gel? Something's fishy." Lin Xiao was stunned by my sudden action. In a hurry, I grabbed a rope, intending to tie her up, but she caught my wrist firmly, making it impossible to shake off. I was shocked. "What are you doing? Let go of me." Lin Xiao responded softly, obediently releasing me. Due to my excessive struggle, I lost my balance and fell backward. She swiftly caught me, steadying my fall. She lowered her gaze, staring at me with a smile. "Isn't it better to hold on?" My heart raced. I took 2 or 3 cautious steps back. "What do you want? Have you already contacted your accomplices to escape?" She sighed. "Why don't you ever trust me? Do you really think I couldn't escape if I wanted to?" I looked Lin Xiao up and down. At 175 meters tall, though slimmer than me, her body was all muscle from years of training, and from what I later saw in the news, she had even won a provincial judo championship. I had thought she was a 15-year-old kid when I dared to kidnap her. If I had known her true strength, I wouldn't have dared even after 3 to 5 years of training. But despite her capabilities, she had been tied up by me for so long without any resistance. A bold guess suddenly formed in my mind. I covered my mouth in disbelief. "Then you." Lin Xiao's eyes lit up, nodding encouragingly, waiting for me to continue. My jaw almost dropped. "Could it be you're enduring all this to gather evidence of my crimes, and then cooperate with the police to catch me all at once. At that moment, Lin Xiao seemed to turn to stone. She maintained a fixed posture, unmoving for a long time. In there, it felt like there was the sound of hope shattering. Meanwhile, I started packing my things at lightning speed, preparing to flee, seeking to the door with my small bundle. I was yanked back like a chick. Lin Xiao looked at me with a mix of frustration and pity. Zhou Yan, why don't you check the bathroom first? I was almost in tears. Could there be a bunch of cops in there, waiting to pounce on me the moment I step in? At this moment, it seemed I was the real hostage. I had to check it out. When I finally entered the bathroom, I found it filled with various items that hadn't been there before. Shower gel, shampoo, facial cleanser, and even some fancy-looking tissues. I was confused. Lin Xiao explained helplessly. I noticed your bathroom had very few items, so I ordered some when I got takeout. I remained vigilant. Why? She looked at me seriously. Because it can make your life a bit more comfortable. I still didn't understand, but I kidnapped you. She smiled. But I don't mind. Lin Xiao repeatedly assured me that she wouldn't escape before I got the money. Although I was suspicious, I didn't dare say much. After all, from a physical standpoint, if she wanted to escape, I couldn't do much about it. Thanks to her financial power, my small home quickly transformed. It was not only furnished with many new items, but the sofa and bed were also replaced with new ones. I was lounging on a lazy sofa, munching on an apple, when I suddenly remembered. Lin Xiao, I kidnapped you. What about your school? She was watering my succulents. I looked up when she heard me speak. It's summer vacation now. Oh, so when do you go back to school? Next month, I guess. Do you like school? It's all right. What's Harvard like? It's beautiful. As we chatted, I gradually fell asleep. When I woke up again, Lin Xiao was crouching beside me, gently fanning me with a small fan. Seeing I was awake, she quickly stood up and turned away as if trying to hide something. I rubbed my eyes, still not fully awake, but watching her hastily grabbing a cloth to wipe the table reminded me of the dream I just had. In the dream, my home was still as shabby as ever, and I was still the same me who ate plain buns every day. I suddenly felt a bit melancholic. Lin Xiao, when you go home, will all this disappear? Her movements frowncy. Then she said firmly. No. Lin Xiao turned around, crouched down, and pinched my cheek. If you like it, it will always be here. Without thinking, I blurted out. What about you? She was clearly taken aback, then smiled and patted me. I'll be here too. Before I could get all the 50,000 yuan, I received a call from Yu Chan. Xiaozhou, we found a matching kidney donor for Grandpa. The surgery can be done next week. I was overjoyed. Really? That's great. Yu Chen sounded worried, but the fee needs to be paid soon. Have you gathered all the money for the surgery? I patted my chest. That's not a problem. Just wait and see. After hanging up, I sat silently by the bed for a long time, then walked out and gently nudged the sleeping Lin Xiao. She was sleeping soundly, not responding at all. The moonlight cast a thin veil over her face. I had to nudge her again. She mumbled, grabbing me and pulling me onto the sofa, hugging me tightly. She wasn't wearing anything on her upper body, and my face was almost pressed against her chest muscles. I was held so tightly that breathing became difficult, and I had to strain to stick my head out. Lin Xiao, she touched the back of my head, making a noise in her nose. I tried to push her away. Can you let go of me first? She seemed unhappy with my resistance, extending her arm to hold me even tighter. This kid really couldn't stay still while sleeping. If she woke up in this position, it would be very awkward, so I didn't dare to struggle too much. While I was carefully trying to remove her arm, I seemed to hear her mumbling, Brother Zhou Yan, though she slept deeply. Lin Xiao woke up quite early. As soon as she opened her eyes, I spoke directly. After a night of consideration, Lin Xiao, I can let you go. She clearly wasn't fully awake yet. I didn't bother with whether she was awake or not and continued. I need 50,000 yuan right now. Give me the rest in cash. Once I get the money, you can leave. She remained in a half-awake posture, not speaking. I worried she didn't understand. Did I make myself clear? She nodded slowly. I turned to leave, but then I heard a low voice behind me. Did I make you unhappy? I was puzzled. Lin Xiao slowly sat up from the sofa, looking dejected. Why are you suddenly driving me away? Her expression was genuinely heart-wrenching, but I didn't understand why she felt that way. She was a hostage. Leaving the kidnapper was supposed to be what she needed, right? So I didn't think much of it and answered honestly, because I need the money. As I turned to leave, I seemed to see the last glimmer of hope fade from Lin Xiao's eyes. Lin successfully didn't call the police. I safely retrieved a box full of cash from the agreed location and hurried to the hospital. I didn't tie up Lin Xiao, assuming she would leave on her own. When I arrived, Yu Chan was taking care of Grandpa. Hearing that I had paid the surgery fee, Grandpa was so anxious, he almost sat up from the bed. Zhou Yan, you used all your savings to cover my treatment costs. Where did you get so much money? I held his bony hand. Grandpa, I found a job that doesn't require a diploma, and the boss is nice and lent it to me. Grandpa finally sighed in relief, tears welling up in his cloudy eyes. It's all my fault for being a burden to you. I wish I could die. Yu Chan and I spoke in unison. Grandpa, Grandpa, don't say that. He was the best grandpa, meant to live a long life. I was born without a mother. My dad was a gambler who never took care of me even for a day. Sometimes I had to beg for food. When I was 11, he owed too much money, and debt collectors accidentally cued him. Grandpa took me in. He picked up other people's old textbooks for me from the recycling station, so I could have books to read. He did his best to give me everything, even though he was just an old man collecting waste paper. He always said Zhou Yang was the cutest little boy, deserving of all good things, but I thought he was the one who deserved it. Later, he got sick and needed a constant stream of money for treatment. I worked 3 part-time jobs every day, saving all my money for Grandpa's treatment. But as time went on, he grew more and more frail, until the doctor said it was better to stop dragging it out and recommended surgery. The surgery fee became the biggest hurdle. I thought, no matter what happens to me, as long as Grandpa can finally stop suffering, that's the outcome I want the most. After Grandpa gradually recovered from the surgery, he insisted on going back to collecting recyclables, saying he wanted to earn money for me and Chen to get married. I quit my part-time jobs and started looking for a stable job. One day, I came across an old man lying on the road, groaning. There was no one around, and no surveillance cameras either. I hesitated for a long time before taking a few steps towards him. Grandpa, I only have 20 yuan on me. Can I help you? You won't extort me, will you? The old man squinted at me. I quickly took out my crumpled 20 yuan bill. He curled his lip and scooted over. Kid, come lie down with me. My mind went blank, and I obediently lay down. The place where the old man lay was a bit secluded, but it seemed there was a villa district nearby. Soon, a Bentley drove by. Seeing someone coming, I eventually felt embarrassed and got up, dusting off my pants. However, the Bentley slowly reversed back in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing a familiar yet unfamiliar face. It was Lin Xiao. She was wearing sunglasses, her hair meticulously styled, with her bangs pinned back, looking youthful and flamboyant. Oh no, she's here to catch me. My vision went dark, and since I wasn't standing firmly, I lay back down. Seeing this, the old man rolled up his sleeves and stood up, shouting in dialect, "Hey, young man, how do you drive? A good girl like that. How could you reverse like that?" While saying this, he didn't forget to give me a thumbs up. Kid, your acting skills without any training are admirable. Would you believe me if I said I wasn't acting? Lin Xiao quickly got out of the car and squatted beside me, reaching out to check my forehead. What happened? I twitched my lips, not daring to open my eyes. The old man was enthusiastic. How dare you ask what happened? You drove such a big car and knocked the girl unconscious. Lin Xiao might have been scared by the old man's words. Without saying a word, she directly instructed the driver to pick me up and put me in the car. The old man grabbed her. Hey, what are you doing? Are you trying to destroy the evidence? Lin Xiao, quite impatient, threw out, "Stop arguing. We're going to the hospital." This was the first time I heard her speak in such a tone, a bit harsh. Lin Xiao sat in the back seat, holding me tightly, and commanded the driver, "Quick, drive faster." She seemed like a not-so-bright domineering CEO. The driver sped up, and I felt like I was about to throw up the little food I had eaten. I couldn't hold it in any longer and weakly opened my eyes. So dizzy. Lin Xiao looked anxious, still holding me. "What's wrong? Are you sick?" I pretended to cough a few times. Cough, cough. Maybe it's heat stroke. It's really cool in here. I felt better as soon as I got in. She finally sighed in relief. That's good. I gave an awkward smile. After a brief silence, the driver tentatively asked, "Miss, where should we go now?" She glanced at me. "Home." I was shocked. Are you still going to hand me over to your father and put me in jail?" She nodded. "Yeah." I started nervously clawing at the window and the door handle. Although I knew I deserved it, I couldn't help feeling very sad. Would you Chen be too embarrassed to visit me after I'm inside? How would I explain it to Grandpa? I quietly picked at Lin Xiao's leather seat, feeling down about my future days in prison. Lin Xiao couldn't help but laugh. "Are you stupid?" I felt like I was being insulted again. She tapped my forehead. "You think I would let you go there?" I rubbed the spot she tapped, hope igniting in my heart. "What do you mean?" She spread her hands generously, relaxing completely. "I'm introducing you to a job, a monthly salary of 12,000 after taxes, with room and board included." I couldn't believe my ears. "What?" She smiled mysteriously. "Have you heard of being a gardener?" I didn't expect it, but Lin Xiao really introduced me to a job. The main tasks were watering the plants in their garden and feeding the birds. I was astonished. The world of the rich was indeed beyond my imagination. Such an easy job, yet the salary was 10,000 a month. The interviewer was a beautiful woman. If Lin Xiao hadn't called her mom, I would have thought she was her sister at most. The auntie greeted me with a big smile. "You must be Zhou Yan. How old are you? So handsome." I smiled warmly. "I just turned 18 this year." Auntie covered her mouth in surprise. "How can can you be so young? Lin Xiao also frowned, seemingly incredulous. I shyly lowered my head because I lied about being 5 years older. Auntie laughed at my joke. She said she appreciated my honesty and immediately approved my employment. They prepared an empty room for me, which was bigger than my old house. Every day, I watered the plants, played cards with Aunt Lin, and enjoyed 3 meals a day. I could even take food back to Grandpa on weekends. It often felt like I wasn't working but enjoying life. Lin Xiao's mom told me not to think of her as a boss, just call her Sister Hua. Sister Hua always brought me small gifts when she went out. Sometimes it was a small cake, other times a pair of pants. She seemed to delight in my surprised reactions, treating me like a cherished son. One night, I was playing cards with Sister Hua as usual. Suddenly, the lights went out in the game room. I was used to power outages and wasn't scared, quickly feeling my way to Sister Hua to reassure her. Sister Hua, don't be afraid. It's probably just a tripped circuit. Sister Hua held my hand tightly. I'm not afraid. Let's go check it out together. Okay. I turned on my phone's flashlight to lead Sister Hua out, but Sister Hua turned off the flashlight. This light could bother others if it shines in their eyes. I'll guide you, though I found it strange. I didn't think much of it. Sister Hua was trustworthy. She knew the layout of the house better, guiding me through twists and turns to an unfamiliar room. It was pitch black, like a giant black hole. Suddenly, Sister Hua let go of my hand without warning. I panicked, calling out, Sister Hua, Sister Hua, but there was no response. Sister Hua was gone. I tried to steady my breathing, wanting to find the way back. Behind me, I heard the rhythmic sound of footsteps and a slow rolling of metal on the floor. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Just as my heart raced uncontrollably, I noticed a faint light on the floor. Joyful sing followed. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Lin Xiao pushed a cart with a cake, smiling as she approached me. Sister Hua and Lin Chengdong clapped behind her. Even a few aunties joined, holding small signs to create a festive atmosphere. I was stunned. You guys. Lin Xiao reached me, leaned down, and placed a birthday hat on my head, whispering in my ear, Happy birthday, Yuan Appa. Her eyes sparkled with a gentle smile, like a sweet spring. My brain hadn't processed what was happening, but tears welled up in my eyes. I wiped them away hastily. How did you know it was my birthday? A day I had almost forgotten was remembered so thoughtfully by others. Lin Xiao sighed, exasperated. My Zhouyan Appa, why is your memory so bad? With Lin Xiao's reminder, I finally recalled. After my dad was beaten to death, I lived alone for a while. Once, when I was out collecting water bottles, I met a stumbling little girl. She said she had escaped from human traffickers and was exhausted from running. Seeing her pitiful state, I took her home and cared for her for a while. During that time, we took turns collecting bottles and selling newspapers. Though life was tough, we were happy when her parents found her and took her away. They left me a large sum of money, but it was soon taken by another group of debt collectors. Grandpa couldn't bear it, so he took me and moved. I saw my life after being taken in as a new life, and gradually forgot the experiences before I was 11. I found it hard to believe, but how did you know it was me? Lin Xiao snorted. You have a small birthmark on the back of your neck, and how could I not recognize you? Sister Hua excitedly grabbed my hand. Zhouyan, I didn't expect that money to be taken. It's outrageous. If I had known, I would have taken you with us. Lin Chengdong shook my hand vigorously. Yes, Zhouyan. Wei Xiao went back to find you and saw you were gone. She cried for months. Lin Xiao tugged at her dad's sleeve, embarrassed. Ed, don't talk about that. The candlelight on the birthday cake illuminated her face, though not very clear. Her cheeks seemed a bit red. Lin Xiao turned her head, awkwardly avoiding my gaze. Zhouyan Appa, blow out the candles. I nodded and closed my eyes. I wished Grandpa a long life. I wished for happiness. I wished for Lin Xiao and her family to always be happy. After blowing out the candles, the room lights came back on. I saw the room's walls were covered in balloons, with a happy birthday sign in the center. There were also some small starlights, clearly a well-prepared decoration. Sister Hua excitedly introduced. She put up all these balloons herself. She wouldn't let us help. Lin Chengdong echoed. Yes, this silly girl insisted on doing it herself. We've never seen her so serious. Lin Xiao's ears turned red. Mom and Dad, can you stop talking about me? It's not my birthday today. Sister Hua clapped. Oh, right. Xiao Wen, cut the cake. Birthday cake. I looked down at the cake in front of me, surrounded by chocolate chips, with Happy Birthday Zhouyan written in jam. My dad never cared about my birthday. Seems like this only appeared in my dreams. You're all too good to me. Sister Hua put her arm around my shoulder. What are you saying? You're my daughter's savior. Without you, she might have been sold to Africa for hard labor. When she said that, I couldn't control my choked voice and started sobbing. I'm sorry. Sister Hua, there's something I haven't told you. I was the one who kidnapped Lin Xiao. Doing such a despicable thing and trying to cover it up. I am absolutely unforgivable. I'll turn myself in at the police station tomorrow. Sob, sob, sob. Sister Hua was stunned. Kidnapping? What kidnapping? Lin Chengdong remained calm and composed. Lin Xiao frowned and said seriously, Appa, you can't just accuse yourself of crimes you didn't commit. Sniffling, I replied, but I did. Lin Xiao placed her hands on my shoulders and made me sit down, then started explaining seriously. First of all, we know that for a crime to be established, four elements need to be met: the criminal subject, the criminal object, the subjective aspect, and the objective aspect. I tilted my head. She held up one finger. Let's look at the crime of kidnapping. First, in terms of the criminal object, it needs to meet the criteria of infringing on others' personal freedom, health, life rights, and public or private property rights. I really didn't understand what she was saying. She held up another finger. Second, in terms of the objective aspect, it requires that the perpetrator uses violence, threats, or other means to kidnap someone. I nodded dumbly, feeling she was quite impressive. During our time together, you didn't infringe on any of my rights, nor did you use violence or threats to kidnap me. This part I understood, so I retorted, why not? I did tie you up. Lin Xiao clasped her hands together, her expression solemn. Because everything was voluntary on my part. I wanted to go with you, and I insisted on staying with you. All of it was my initiative, having nothing to do with you. I still found it hard to accept. But what about the money I took from your dad? Isn't that extortion? Lin Xiao shook her head at me again. No, I wanted to give you money. I felt something was off, but couldn't pinpoint it. So what do you call my behavior? Lin Xiao's lips curled into a mischievous smile as she paused for 2 seconds. This is called fun. Under Lin Xiao's persuasion, I gradually believed her. I will be a law-abiding, honest, and diligent citizen from now on. The next afternoon, Sister Huo's friend invited her for afternoon tea and brought along a fair-skinned, beautiful woman. Sister Huo's friend was called Sister Du. When Sister Du saw me, her eyes lit up. Hey, who's this handsome young man? I haven't seen him before. Sister Hua blinked with pride. Handsome, right? This is my long-lost godson. Just recognized him recently. Sister Du nodded approvingly. A godson. Nice, nice. She then turned to her beautiful daughter, Xiao Xiao. Go chat and get to know him. The woman named Xiao Xiao was taken aback and nodded doubly. Oh, Xiao Xiao seemed a bit shy, only taking out her phone after a long while and saying, can I add you as a friend? Just as I was about to take out my phone, Lin Xiao appeared out of nowhere, angrily dragging me away. Sister Hua called after her, but she didn't turn back. She pulled me upstairs and back to my room, gripping my hand so tightly it hurt. Seeing my pain, she finally released me, belatedly realizing, did I hurt you? I pouted and nodded. Her eyes flickered, and she gently rubbed my wrist. Sorry, I was just in a hurry. I blinked. What was the rush? She continued to rub my wrist gently, looking aggrieved. Don't you understand? I felt wronged. Understand what? Lin Xiao stared into my eyes. What were you doing with that woman? I answered truthfully, adding her as a friend. Lin Xiao waited a few seconds, as if expecting me to say more. When I didn't, she got a bit anxious. And then, after you add her on Wicket, won't you chat every day, saying good morning and good night? Then you'll become reliant on each other, be inseparable, and finally fall in love over time. I was startled by her bizarre reasoning. What are you talking about? Lin Xiao's eyes reddened slightly. You're still trying to hide it from me. Every night, you used to hold me while we slept. Don't you want to take responsibility for that? I was even more shocked. No, you can't say that. We were kids back then. Lin Xiao pouted, aggrieved. So in your mind, nothing between kids counts. I was stunned. She sounded like she was about to cry. Appa, you can't do this. I've looked for you so many times, but you were nowhere to be found. Sometimes I think, what if you already had someone else, and it made me so sad when I recognized you? Do you know how happy I was? Happy enough that even if you wanted to sell me, I wouldn't say a word. Later, I found out you'd had a tough time all these years, and my heart ached. I wanted to make up for everything you missed. Even someone as slow as me finally understood what she meant. I looked up with difficulty. Then, you. She met my eyes, her tone serious. Yes, I like you, Appa. I like you. Can you, please, not look at anyone else? Yu Chen once said, if you want to know if you truly like someone, imagine them with someone else and see if you get mad. I thought about it. I would be upset, Grandpa said. To gauge how much you like someone, imagine how much you'd miss them if you lost them. When I was in the rundown house, I couldn't bear to lose Lin Xiao. Looking into her unbelievably beautiful eyes, I gently nodded. Okay, I didn't dare tell Sister Hua and Lin Chunggong about my relationship with Lin Xiao. I always felt like she was a flower planted in cow dung. She was the flower. Lin Xiao found this idea absurd. Appa, what does that smart little head of yours think about every day? You're the flower. I shook my head. No, I'm the cow dung. What? I'm the dung. No, I am. I'm the dung. I am. I'm cow dung. And cow dung. As we argued about this, Sister Hua appeared. She looked at us in confusion. Did you guys take the wrong medicine? Lin Xiao, feeling wronged, said, Nom, you be the judge. After I got together with Zhou Yan, he keeps saying I'm the flower and he's the dung. Is this reasonable? I didn't back down. It's true. I'm not wrong. 5 seconds later, under Sister Hua's shocked gaze, I finally realized something was off. She looked at me, then at Lin Xiao, her eyes widening. You too. I pretended to see a UFO. Lin Xiao nervously fidgeted with her fingers, but Sister Hua burst into a happy laugh. Not bad, not bad. My daughter's got some skills. Your auntie do want it. To set Zhou Yan up with her daughter. Haha, who would have thought my daughter got him first? Lin Xiao and I looked at each other and sighed in relief. Not only did Sister Hua and Lin Changgong support us, but they also said they would sponsor our honeymoon. I was shocked. Isn't a honeymoon something you do after getting married? Lin Xiao, in her usual style, started to look aggrieved. So, Zhou Yan, you never thought of marrying me? I quickly said, of course not. It just so happened that Lin Xiao was about to graduate. A graduation trip was perfect. As for marriage, that would be at least 2 years away. For now, we would just be happy. Following Sister Hua's suggestion, Lin Xiao and I traveled to many places. Everywhere we went, I sent Grandpa local specialties and some photos. Grandpa was delighted and called me whenever he had time. On the last night of our trip, Grandpa said to me, Zhou Yan, you finally found your happiness. Looking at the person sleeping soundly next to me, warmth filled my heart. Yes, it turns out I can find my happiness too. The end. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe.